Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Women's Maximum Fitness Podcast. Today is Monday, December 28th, and I am here with my friend and fellow coach, Sarah Ford Bishop. And this podcast today is going to be about coaching, which I think is super important coming around this time of year because, we get into the new year, everyone has New Year's resolutions. Many of them are health related, and people are trying to decide if they want to invest in an online coach, when they want to do it, and what the benefits are. So we're going to cover a lot of these topics to help you get some guidance and some direction which way that you need to go with that, or if you need to find somebody who's going to help you, or if you can even figure things out on your own for the time being. So I think that's one of the great things about Sarah. She puts a ton of information out there that allows you to educate yourself. If you're not quite ready to make that leap with one-on-one coaching, you can certainly make some behavior and lifestyle changes that are going to impact you over the long term. So you do a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you absolutely can, coach yourself if you choose to go that route. I think having a coach helps you really take things to that next level. And for me, and I'm sure Deborah, you might be able to relate to this. Like, I feel like we know so much, and it helps for us to have coaches to take some of the guesswork out of it. And so then we can kind of show up better, as athletes and, for our clients, because, I don't have to write my own training plan, right? I'm following what my coach tells me. Right. So.
Yeah. Knowing that there's the more I've said this before, the more you learn, you feel like the less you know, and you just get cluttered with all of your options. What is that? There's a term for that.
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you're just like, you almost get paralyzed where to start, because you like, this would be a good route. This will be a good route. Like if you're trying to figure out a training split or whatever. So it's really nice to have an extra set of eyes to go, this is what we're going to do. And you don't have to argue with it. You just trust.
Especially like bodybuilding, like whether you're in prep or muscle building, wherever you're at in your journey, like our eyes are so like skewed, and like we have goggles on all the time. So like having that, truly like outside opinion, that objective opinion to kind of say, no, you're not getting too fluffy, or no, you're not watery, like, or, you're not flat, like, that kind of thing, like wherever you're at in your journey, to have those outside eyes on you.
Well, and like I have, not to skip ahead, but I have the perfect example of, you will get clients filling out your intake form and their goals. The end of mine talks about goals. What are 5 goals that you have for this experience? And they'll say something like, I want to tone my arms, or I want to have smaller legs. And, that's great. That gives me some information of something that you want to change about yourself. But I might look at your pictures and think that, oh, you're at a healthy weight, and I can see where, you know what I mean? So the pictures, along with your perspective of yourself, is not always relayed or always realistic, because you look at yourself all the time,
Yeah, very true.
All right. So my kind of introduction of this was just to say that with the vast amount of information that is now available to anyone with internet access, it's really easy for someone to believe they don't need a coach or couldn't benefit from one. So today, Sarah and I are going to help you understand what a coach is for, what to expect when hiring a coach, who needs a coach, and some of those things. So let's start with the first thing, Sarah. What makes a good coach? What makes a good coach?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think when you're looking for a coach, like obviously you want someone that's educated, and it doesn't have to be a formal education. Like I have a master's in exercise science. And I learned a ton, from, my master's program and my undergrad, and working in, the lab and being involved in studies related to exercise science and all that. But I learned just as much, if not more, working with people in person. And I think you shouldn't rule out a coach if they don't have a formal education.
Right.
And you shouldn't, if a coach, has a higher degree level, still, question, what is their experience working like, like with people, because a huge part of the coaching, relationship, and this is where, you might want to consider having a coach, is it's not just, macros and plugging in numbers and calculations and stuff like that. A huge part of this is, the psychological side of things, and, knowing your athlete, or, your coach, is making these decisions for you specifically. And that part is something it can't necessarily be taught, and it does come from experience. And that's kind of like what we call like the art of coaching, because it really is an art. It's balancing the sciencey nutrition exercise with, the person. And, that's what being an evidence-based professional is. So if you're looking for a good coach, you want to look at someone who's takes, the best research we have available, but also equally considers you as an athlete and anecdote, their experience in the field and experience of other coaches, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I feel like, yeah, absolutely. The education is important, and it can come from various ways. Someone can be self-educated. I know I've said this before. John Jewett mentored me for a couple of years. I learned a ton from that. I don't have a ton of formal education, but I do feel like the experience of working with clients is, like you said, you have to learn the biofeedback. You understand that everyone learns differently, and you have to adapt your methods to the client to make sure that you're not doing, people do cookie cutter things, but you can always maybe know what the best way might be for a client, but you don't, but if it's not going to be something that they do, you can say, oh, the best way for you to lose weight is to lift weights and, follow this diet, which is like maybe a high protein diet. But if somebody doesn't like to lift weights, then you have to figure out another method for them in order to get there, or how much to incorporate. So yeah, cookie cutter programs. You see that a lot with, I think I've heard that a lot with some of my interviews too, that people have had coaches that, were coaching everyone in the gym and everybody got the same, workout or whatever it is. So
yeah,
for sure. So education, experience with self and experience with others, I think, is really important. Your coach obviously doesn't have to be in tip-top shape, but I do feel like they should know how to do whatever it is that they're teaching you, right?
Yeah. You want someone that is going to kind of walk the walk, right? And obviously, you don't know someone's life just from social media, but you can kind of tell, who's on it, who's passionate about this, right? And who, really cares, because, a good coach, we're not like fluffy cheerleaders. Like, it's not all like, yeah, you're doing great, or, oh, just try harder, but we do care, right? And we care so much that we will give you the tough love, when you need it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. One of the other things I had thought of was just checking out client successes. Having a website or having a display of client transformations, or testimonials, I think is really important. Word of mouth can help you find a good coach if you have.
Yeah.
It's probably the best. It's the best way to find somebody. So I think word of mouth is very important. And then, asking when you find somebody if they've worked with somebody like you, or a variety of clients.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So a contest prep coach, make sure that they have put somebody through contest prep and that person looked good, or had a good experience, came out healthy. I think that's really important too.
Yeah. Like looking at like if you can, the long-term, trajectory of their clients, like, do they fall off the face of the earth after they compete, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you do see some of these really quick transformations, and then, and that could be client choice. They just wanted to do one show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, do they have the longevity? And then, and then you can kind of, I think through social media, you can find out what type of a bedside manner a coach has. I think with females, you're going to get a little bit more of a nurturing, just because we are, and I'm not trying to be
right.
misogynistic about this, but
no. I mean, it's we're just a little bit more like on the emotional side of things,
Right. And I know there's coaches that are extremely hardcore and just very blunt, and that's how they do things. And some people like that. But, if I were to refer somebody, especially if I had a female client who's just starting out, they might, I don't like to use the word hand holding because that seems a little bit almost more like a life coach. But someone might need a little bit more, I mean, they're new, so you need a little bit more attention rather than somebody who's just able to take a plan and go with it and follow directions. So
right. Yeah. More education, more back and forth, that kind of thing.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So what is the difference between an online coach and an in-person trainer, and who is going to benefit from which one?
Yeah, so online coaches normally have more experience on like the nutrition side of things and more education there, I would say. And this is just from my experience. Obviously, I would say the big upside of a personal trainer is they're with you in person, and they're able to cue you, touch you, like see your form on the spot. And if you're someone that's completely new to lifting, I would honestly recommend that you start with a good personal trainer in person, just because nothing beats that. I can look at your videos and cue you, but I'm not there in the gym with, we're not on a live Zoom meeting, right, in the gym. So having that person that's, right there with you and can correct on the spot and give you that foundation, because it's not like 80-20 nutrition training. It's 100% both, and if we can get, your foundation solid, on the training side of things, that's, what I would definitely say to kind of start with. Or if you're lucky to know someone that lifts and is, knows what they're talking about, if you can't afford a personal trainer, or, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a ton of people who got their start because their group in their gym took them under, they hooked up with the powerlifting or the bodybuilding crew at the gym and learned how to train, especially following intensity and training programs that way. I think sometimes people think with online coaching that they're going to get a personal trainer as well. And that it, like you said, it is an investment. It's pretty expensive, but I think it's really worthwhile. And if you know what you're asking for, you can get what you need out of it, and not say that, I feel like we said this before in our first podcast, not say like, this is what my goal is as far as like losing 20 pounds of body fat. My goal is to learn how to lift weights in the gym, and I bought these 10 personal training sessions in order to learn how to do that, so that they know body composition might not necessarily be occurring at that time, but you need to learn how to lift, so then you can follow a training program that comes from an online coach.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So are you coachable?
Yeah.
What is the role as an online client, and how can you make a successful experience? I know that we both have had, our fair share of uncoachable clients. The intake form is very helpful with understanding that. But what makes a person coachable?
Yeah. So if you're reaching out to, an online coach, you're looking to make a change, what you've been doing hasn't been working the best, right? So being able to humble yourself enough to, you know, admit that you don't know it all, because none of us know it all, right? And putting your trust and, you're paying this person, so you want to be able to fully trust them and the program that they're giving you. That's not to say I want you to just ask questions and follow me blindly, right? But being willing to try, different, methods, and being, honest with where you're at, and like I said, humbling yourself that you don't know it all, is a huge piece of it as the athlete or the client.
Yeah, I know. I personally, and it's really hard for me to say because people are always like, well, what do I get with online coaching? And it's really hard for me to say, like, I'm trying to educate you. So when I have my clients check in, I send a voice note back with their changes, if anything changes, and kind of explain the direction we're going and why I did the things I did. And I want them to understand what's happening. That way they don't always know what questions to ask, but they're still getting taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only way to do that is to have the information that I need in order to assess things from the client. So I think one of the things with being coachable is being very detailed with your information at your check-ins and even the intake form initially, right? You need to
Yeah.
everything. So some of the most important things that people need to provide with with their intake form and showing that they're coachable is being detailed with the answers. I need to know what your diet looks like, currently, not like what you've done in the past. What you're doing now, what got you to where you are now. Pictures are super important so I can see what you look like. That was something that I said earlier too. It's important for me to see because my eyes are going to be able to assess you differently than your own eyes are.
Yeah, totally. And that, like, don't just say, like, don't answer like the intake form, when you start to work with an online coach, don't answer it like I should be answering this or that. Like, if
Right.
you're not eating like chicken and rice, you're really eating Pop Tarts and, Cheetos, like, you're not like impressing me by saying you're eating chicken and rice and then later finding out we're lying about it and I have to go backtrack and reevaluate our plan, right? That honesty is huge. And the progress pictures are really big, especially starting out. And I think a lot of women especially are embarrassed to like take those initial progress pictures, but like I'm not like, I literally look at them like just so matter of factly. Like of course, I can't tell you got, I'm not judging you is what I'm trying to say. Right.
Right.
Your progress pictures, I get an idea of, your body fat percentage from those. I can tell, things that, posture wise, health wise from looking at those progress pictures. And trust me, you'll be so glad you have them, in 6 months to compare to.
Yeah, that's huge. And you're right. People are embarrassed. I mean, trust me, I know the first time that I was working with a coach too, it just was like, you're super nervous because you feel like you're going to be judged, but a coach will look at things, objectively, just like, earlier I had interviewed Macy Tony and we were talking about how at competitions, how you're totally naked when you're spray tanned. And we were saying how, the people doing the spray tan are very professional and have seen everything before. It's exactly the same thing. We're not judging you, and it is really important for those before and afters, especially because, sometimes clients don't lose a lot of weight on the scale over a period of time, but when you can do side-by-side pictures and it looks like they lost 10 or 15 pounds when it's maybe been 3 because, recomposition is going on, that's really exciting. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Let's see here. Being thorough and detailed about your check-in material. And then on the same note, you want to, like still again be detailed. So maybe you're not eating chicken and rice, but maybe you are eating, you're like, I'll get answers too. They're just like I just ate everything, which also doesn't really tell me,
Right.
what you eat. So being really detailed with that information, you honestly can't say, too much because it's all valid. So
Yeah.
when I have check-ins, I have a check-in form so that, because I've learned over the years, otherwise people just say the week went good, I'm doing great, So
Yeah.
yeah, I need to know energy levels, digestion, if the foods are working for you, if you need ideas for swaps, any of that stuff. And your coach is going to provide all those things for you. So, and we don't
Yeah.
know, I'm a big fan of, trying to keep diet somewhat the same, especially at the beginning, so we can kind of eliminate variables. So, if you're sick of something or you just can't do something, or maybe you told me you liked oatmeal at the beginning and then you realized you didn't, don't suffer through that,
Right.
that open communication is so, it's just vital. It's so vital.
Yeah. And I think going back to like what like makes a good coach is like they'll ask you like some of this stuff, like you're saying, like like in the beginning, like a lot of it is like, so we ask about like your biofeedback, right? Like, so that's, things like Deb was saying, like, your digestion, your, energy levels, your sleep, menstrual cycle, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but eventually, like you'll get to the point where like you're reporting those things on your own, but we need all those details, like when I ask, like, how was your nutrition for this week? I don't want to just know good. Cause
Right.
like, what does good mean? Like it really was good, like no problems, or like
Right.
it was good, but like, it was maybe it was good because like you had some cake, so it was great, like, so like, being more detailed in your check-ins is big. And what you get into coaching is like what you give, for a large part. So
Yeah.
we can only help you, from what you tell us. And yeah, nothing's off limits for the most part. Like I don't necessarily need to see pictures of um biofeedback and digestion, but like tell me how it is, right?
Right. Right. And like for females, especially, menstrual cycles are so important. I do adjust diet sometimes as we get closer to periods, and during prep too. That makes a huge difference because, I know women who don't even track their menstrual cycle, and then they wonder why they're bloated, or, why you're having these cravings. And then it's like, oh, my period came. And it's like, yeah, and you would be able to assess that. So that's part of my check-in form as well. When was the date of your last menstrual cycle?
Yeah. It's very much a report card, for females, of your health. And it's important to talk about, and it's not TMI, so, and like you said, tracking that, that's something I try to encourage all my clients to do, is just sort of track your own cycle and track these things on your own if you're not working with a coach,
Yeah.
because it's important to know, like, oh, my digestion, I had diarrhea all week. Okay, what was going on this week that maybe contributed to that? Like, don't just accept it, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because I mean, this is something that I have, even done with my daughter, because as somebody, like, I have endometriosis, so I've always, been more aware of my menstrual cycles. Obviously, my periods have been, they're manageable, but when I wasn't doing things that were as healthy, they were obviously worse, which
Yeah.
I think, people really notice. But I said that with my daughter when she was first getting, I'm like, you need to track this. First of all, we need to know if they're regular, and then you can understand, because she eats very much, according to her cycle. She's like not really hungry for the week after her period. And then as it gets closer, her appetite increases, and it's just a big, a wave that she rides, and it works for her. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think people don't always realize that, hormonally what's going on. It makes big changes in your energy and your appetite if you're not paying attention to those types of things.
Right. And that's why like your coach needs to know these things. Cause, like if you tell me like, oh, I, was super hungry this week, but I also didn't sleep at all. Like that's a big, okay, then we need to address your sleep, not your, hunger necessarily, right? Or, lack thereof. We need to go to like the root cause. So like, or, your period's out of whack. Okay, what could potentially be, causing that? I did have a client who we suddenly saw a big jump on the scale, and she had just stopped, birth control pills. So we thought it was, hormonal related. Turns out she was pregnant. So, it is important to, kind of keep tabs on these things and, explore all variables.
Yep, yep, absolutely. That's awesome. All right, so let's see what else. So be thorough, understand. One of the things that I want to talk about, so with that being, how do you make it a successful experience? So one of the things that I ask on my intake form is, how long do you think it will take you to reach your goal? And that tells me a little bit how realistic you are. Again, this is me assessing from your information and your pictures that you sent me, and you assessing from how long you've been doing stuff. And so it could be very different. Our opinions about this could be very different. But what I need to know is what you're willing to invest. And if you are hiring an online coach, this is the beginning of a relationship. You know what I mean? So you aren't going to be like, this isn't a 6-week program or a 12-week program where you're going to be able to drop 10 pounds. Like, yes, hopefully if that's one of your goals, that can happen. But the goal is a behavior change to learn something, or all things, all these things, so that you can take it with you. And I mean, this could be a year investment, 2 years, as long as it takes for you to feel comfortable doing it on your own.
Right. Because yeah, like you're saying, like it's not like maybe 3 months is like the fat loss phase, and maybe we do achieve your goal in 3 months, but then what? Like you've probably, like most people have lost weight before and then they end up just regaining it, right? So what do we need to do after the fat loss phase? Like reverse diets and maintaining that, and really making this a lifestyle change, right? Or like you have this, maybe you send us pictures and explain what you want to look like, say, oh, I want to look like, XYZ, competitor, but, maybe not that, maybe not off season, whatever. And what I have to explain to a lot of times to a lot of women is, okay, you don't need fat loss. Like we might need to start with fat loss, but what you really need is muscle building, right? To look like that. And that's going to take a long time. So being realistic about your goals and, seeing the big picture, right? The big timeline. And I think, a good coach can kind of explain that to you from the start, but you have to be willing to, it's not gonna, you're not, your body's not Amazon Prime. It's not coming, in next week. Like, sorry.
Right. Well, and I think with the year that we've had, I think if people are willing to commit to these behavioral changes, 2021 could be a really great year to begin to turn things around, because most people just aren't very educated about nutrition and aren't very educated about what they need to do at the gym. So, getting started and making little changes that are going to become habits and are going to stick, is way more important than quickly dropping 10 pounds in 2 months and then going right back to doing what you were doing before.
Right. And that, comes with back to, are you coachable? Like, can you trust, this process, and can you be open to this? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had a client a long time ago who just, it was almost like a dare. Every check-in was, well, I'll be happy when I actually lose some weight. But I remember specifically when I got her, she was on like an all protein, no carb diet, was doing a ton of cardio, and we were just, I was just trying to add calories at this point, wean her off doing so much cardio. And all she wanted was to drop weight. And it was like, well, here you are now, a month later, already eating way more than what you were doing before. It's getting that, establishing the base, figuring out which direction we need to go. It, like you said, it's not necessarily everybody wants to drop fat, but there's a process to get there sometimes, especially if you're coming from a damaged place, you know?
Yeah, I would say like month one, a lot of times with coaching is getting to know each other,
Yeah.
right? And making those like, very small, like incremental changes to kind of lay that foundation, right? And then month two, we get more advanced. And month three, that's when things maybe start happening, right?
Well, and
So
I remember hearing Ben Pakulski talking on one of his podcasts too, and he was saying how when he takes on clients, he wants to make sure that they're invested. The first 6 months is basically him trying to figure out the body, how the person's body and everything works, so not really even a lot of change happening there. So he's very picky about who he chooses, and it's going to be for the long term. So
yeah.
So that intake form, let's talk a little bit about that. There are obvious, like there'll be obvious red flags when when I get the intake form. As someone who, this isn't my job, as far as like, I don't rely on coaching for my income. I have another job. And so I'm very selective about who I work with, because I want to make sure that I can give them the attention I need, that I can help them reach their goals. And I don't want to be distracted by a lot of people who aren't going to, like, I could have people just to give me money, but that's not really what it's about, So I am selective about who I choose, because I want to have compliant people who trust me, who want to learn and want to reach their goals. So some of the things that come in on this assessment form are big red flags for me, and not necessarily a red flag, but just something that I know that I'm not capable of working with, or something like that. So, I would say, for one, I don't work with people who are using performance enhancing drugs anymore. That's something that I'm not comfortable with it. I know a ton of people who are really great with working with stuff like that. And so I will usually refer them out. So
Yeah.
that's something huge. It's obviously a question on my form. And so is there anything that made me red flags to you when you get that, you think, I don't know, like if this is going to be worth my time?
Yeah. Well, for me, one that comes up a lot, or not a lot, but because my background, I'm very, I'm pretty open with my history with, eating disorders and anorexia, is unfortunately, I will get a lot of girls that are still struggling. And, it's one thing, like I can absolutely help someone that needs to gain weight. They're a little underweight. But if you're struggling with an eating disorder, like it's not about the food, right? It's not just gaining weight, because, actually, eating disorders come in all shapes and sizes. You don't have to be, emaciated to be considered, someone struggling with anorexia, right? So if I get, red flags like that, like a lot of times, like I ask about like people's strengths and weaknesses too. And a lot of times they'll say like their strengths are like perfection, control. Weaknesses are, flexibility, or, the opposite. So, I'll get kind of red flags like that, along with things like, how many days do you go to the gym? 6. Or I go to the gym 6 days a week, and I do cardio 7 days, and I do yoga 3 times a week. And then I ask them about their nutrition, and it's like, less than 200 grams of carbs. And, so the red flags kind of go together. And then, either their goal is, sometimes they are, they do, and this is where progress pictures are big too. They're realistic. They say, I need to gain weight, or sometimes they'll say, I need to lose weight. And they're already say, 5'2" and, 100 pounds, right? There's like nothing to pull from. So that's a huge red flag for me. And yeah, some of the health stuff too is I am careful with, like, I don't work with people that are enhanced. And it's just because I know coaches that are better equipped, to handle that than I am. And, if I get a situation where someone is eating disorder, like I'm going to pretty much say, like, I think honestly, because a lot of times they'll confide in me, some of their struggles, their food fears, stuff like that. And I'll say, listen, I totally get it. And I can assure you that the first place for you to start with your journey is not with me, it's with a counselor,
Yep.
and your money would be better, put there. And, I can absolutely collaborate with your counselor down the line, when you're in a little bit of a better place. But right now, we're not ready. You're not ready for that. And professionally, I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had people too that I have said, you need to see counseling about this instead of, because like you said, it's not about the food. One
Yeah.
one of the other questions on my intake form is if they have any unhealthy relationships that are, they regularly interact with. Sometimes that is, like you said, it all goes hand in hand. What are environmental factors that are going to be detrimental? I've had women whose husbands don't want them to lose weight, and eventually they lose that battle too, because they're like, this just isn't working for me. He keeps bringing home, this type of stuff or whatever. So you can see sometimes if things are going to head in a direction or not. And it's just a matter of, deciding. And as the coach, you kind of get to decide, who's going to be on your team, because,
Yeah.
it's your business, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, another coach hoppers is another thing for me. When you get people that are going from one coach to the next, this happens a lot more with competition prep. And sometimes it's okay. Like, I get that people want to learn from different people. But sticking with someone that you can trust and work with, who's going to help you at each level, they're going to just get to know you more and more. And I think that's really important too. So
Yeah. And I think so with that, like, people are there, like, they're not understanding it's a long-term process,
right.
or they're like shopping for like the perfect plan, right? And they're going to all these different coaches and they're like, well, like and the reason they're shopping for the perfect plan is they're not giving up control. A huge part of this, back to the beginning, is giving up your control, trusting someone else. And if you're just, coach hopping, it's because you're not checking the ego and willing to give up that control. And I get it. Like, I know it's hard. Like, I didn't have a coach for a while because I knew best, right? But you got to humble yourself to trust the plan, and not compare to like so and so on social media, like, oh, their coach did this, why? You don't know. Like, you don't know anything about that athlete, or what's going on behind the scenes. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is super interesting when you, like you said, you hear about, somebody will say, this is what so-and-so did. And it's pretty much, it's irrelevant. You got to figure out what works for you. And if they have success with the coach because they like the coach, then that might be a good coach. But, hopefully you wouldn't get like the same type of a plan or the same, anything that's really the same. So,
yeah.
All right. So how do you, one of the other things I was going to add, you probably don't get this nearly as much, but I don't work with a lot of men. I love working with men through contest prep because, oh my gosh, they just drop weight so quickly. Like, it's so,
yeah. They're so much easier for fat loss. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And when they're, I do love working with guys if they're, I like working with guys for sure, but I eliminated a lot of that just from social media. I don't work with guys that flirt with me because I have a professional relationship with my clients. And, like, if you're leaving heart eye emojis as responses to my whatever it is, obviously I'm not going to have a coach client relationship with you. It's just kind of ridiculous,
Yeah. I don't get a lot of that, but I've gotten a couple of like creepy inquiries and I'm like, I'm going to tell you my prices are $1,000 a month, and no. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of put it off where, like, I've had people that are local, actually more guys that are local that I've worked with. Then I know them. I know them from the gym or in person or whatever. So it's not like, it's not an online type of a thing. So speaking of, I think prices actually works into here. One of the other things was injuries and other medical reasons. Those are some of the things too that will come in on the intake form that I kind of depending on what it is. I've had people that have several injuries, and I'm just am kind of concerned on, since I'm not working with them as a personal trainer one-on-one, I'm not really sure, because they'll be like, well, I think I can squat, or I think
Yeah, that's tricky too. Like I'm not necessarily comfortable writing a training program for someone
yeah,
if they have like a long history of back injuries or anything
yeah,
like that. And I rather them maybe work with a PT. Even there's even online PTs that are I could refer you to, but yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, and then certain medical reasons, or medical things. Obviously, all these things are on the assessment form. It's very detailed, and they're all important and there for a reason, because then we can see the big picture and understand it. The bottom line is if I can help you or not. And I'm going to
Right.
assess that as if I can help you or not. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the goal. So this is something that I think is really important, because with the birth of social media, it's made it a lot easier, but how do you find a coach? Because I know 10 years ago, um, it was like, you kind of ask around, but where,
Yeah.
I mean, competing wasn't nearly as big as it was now. And if you were looking for somebody with like, trying to find weight loss or whatever, you usually got referred to like a dietitian through
Right.
like a hospital or something like that. Um, so how do you find a good coach?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, yeah, social media is huge. And like, maybe you found someone on Instagram, but like you're not so sure. Like, Google them, like search their name in like the podcast, like, you know, app. Like you maybe they were interviewed on a podcast and you can kind of hear, what they have to say there. YouTube, whatever. Maybe, if you are going to a show, look at some of these top competitors and, who's their coach. I mean, that's not always indicative, of the coaching. Sometimes you just have really good genetic freaks, right? And they'd be there, whoever their coach was. But I would say, yeah, I mean, social media can be a good place to start. Like word of mouth through social media, like if you're, kind of talk to someone online, you kind of DM once in a while, and maybe you see they work with, XYZ coach. DM them and ask, hey, what's your experience been like? What are your favorite things, about working with, Deborah or whatever, and kind of get that kind of feedback.
Absolutely. I think that, reading, if you have client testimonials, pictures, try to find some of those things. Like you said, be a sleuth and try to figure out everything you can. If you hear about a specific coach, word of mouth, I definitely think is the best advertising. So if you're like,
Yeah.
if you're local, if you're looking about competing, I would say you can ask a show promoter. A lot of times they know who some of the local coaches are, or they can find one in your area. I've gotten clients that way. And then, if you see someone who, looks like they're in shape, or, you can ask them if they know someone or who they're working with. And again, how they feel about their coach and if they're doing a good job. And just, I would say, just be brave. If you think somebody is going to be a good coach and you're not really sure where to look. I mean, people DM me all the time and ask me if I do coaching or online coaching. I know I got linked up with John because I was following him on social media, and he wasn't even giving out nearly as much information as he does now. But I just felt like he was so genuine, and the information was like so solid and easy to understand. I knew that he has a very good bedside manner. He's very calm the way that he talks when he talks about
Yeah.
things. And I ended up I DM'd him about a client, and he ended up calling me so that we could discuss it. And he just was so smart.
Yeah.
So it convinced me. And then, he would post some of his clients on social media and stuff like that. So it takes a little bit of work, right? But
Yeah. But don't rush into it. It is, because it is an investment. I mean, I would say most coaches are anywhere 200 to 300 a month, is probably industry standard right now.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, I mean, that's an investment for me. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't just have $300 just to blow, unless it's something important. Right.
Right.
So shop around and, like maybe narrow it down to one coach or two coaches. Like I mean, I don't know if you do this, but 90% of people that I work with, I get on the phone with them beforehand. And some people I don't need to do that with, they're ready to go. We have great, email back and forth communication. But yeah, a lot of times just getting on the phone with someone and, asking, questions and kind of talking things through can be really helpful as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if they do, like you said, yeah, if they need convincing or whatever, I always want to be careful with stuff like that though, too, because I've had in the past where I've either met with people or I've done phone calls, and sometimes people just want to vent about everything that hasn't worked for them, and then they don't end up,
Yeah.
switch.
I
So,
said, I use Calendly for the phone call, and like it's like a time slot. So it's like 20 minutes tops. So
nice.
like people like in their head, they're like, okay, it's 20 minutes. Like I can't this is not like, we're not going to solve all the problems right in this call, right? This is just to get to know each other, kind of thing.
Oh, that's nice. One of the things I was thinking about doing was just like now that I've been using Zoom so much more, is doing an initial first, like a Zoom call. But like you said, you set the timer for 20 minutes so that.
Yeah, people like that too. But yeah.
So, but for the most part, I do, even a lot of times answering questions, I do little voice notes, and I send voice notes just because to hear your coach say something is, you can hear the voice inflection and know, like, I'm not mad at you, which can come across in a text.
Yeah. And I think a lot of coaches are moving to that. Like my laptop hasn't been working, but I always use Loom videos or voice memos, because like, there is so much that you can maybe miss, in email. And that's why like some people I do like to get on the phone with too, because there is something that you can miss like in the intake form. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see here. So, is there I know, I want to talk about, there are people that do have difficulty reaching goals and probably aren't going to work out well with an online coach. And I think that, I just wanted to cover some of those just because I know these are people that I've had struggles with in the past. And it's not that it's impossible. It's just going to be more difficult either for me and you or for you. So
Right.
if your lifestyle, one of the things that comes to mind a lot is people that have like business luncheons and do a lot of things with eating out, places like that. So if you're not prepared to pick, like, you're always going to have to pick the healthiest thing on the menu. If your food options are not in your control, like daily, it's going to be very hard.
Yeah.
So, I think about that a lot. I don't imagine many men who want to take a Tupperware with them to a business dinner, if
Right.
you do that on a regular basis. So I guess you need to understand that this is the path that you chose with your business or whatever, and it is going to be a little bit more of an uphill struggle. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard also for me, if your diet is different every day based on, that you're eating out somewhere, to be able to pinpoint, what the issues are, except that maybe your diet isn't, totally in a deficit or whatever it is because, online or, outside eating choices or whatever. So that's a huge one for me, where I'm like, you're not going to be able to follow a diet. So yeah.
I would say like with that, like I'm all about making this a lifestyle.
Yes.
But there's going to be a point where you're going to have to change your current lifestyle a little bit, right? Like, it's not like obvious, like like I said before, if you want something you've never had, you got to kind of do something you've never done, right? So maybe that means, in that situation, like, okay, this is your job. You have to, maybe you do suck it up, once a week or whatever, and bring your Tupperware, or, you're going to have to say no to alcohol, right? Like you're going to have to like pick and choose, where you kind of make some sacrifices, because if this is really important to you, you will, right? So yeah, like certain jobs for sure, like can be a little bit more challenging, but it's just gonna, that's, like night shift, like shift workers, like that's a big one too. Where it's just gonna be a little more challenging, and you're just gonna have to be on top of it a little more than other people. And that's not good or bad. It is what it is. But if you're not willing to kind of make these adjustments, and we're gonna work together, like if you tell me flat out, like, listen, like I have to at least go to one dinner a week, out, whatever.
Sure.
Like that's fine, but let's kind of pick something else, elsewhere. Then, okay, then, we have to be on it with, our water, or, we're not going to drink, whatever it is.
Right. Nope, absolutely. Well, and I think about, percentages as well. Like I haven't done the math, but if you have 7 days in a week and you want to be 80% compliant, then you have to be on point, at least I think almost 6 days of the week in order to be compliant. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's going to be, like I said, some things are going to be way more challenging, and this lifestyle might prevent you from getting to the level that you want to be at, but it doesn't mean that it can't get you to a better level. You're just going to have to work
right. Like what sacrifice, like if you don't want to sacrifice like happy hour every single weekend, like, okay, then we're not going to get competition ready. Like it's just not going to happen. Sorry.
Right. Absolutely. And then, some of the things too, that other things that come into issue with, like I think about people who have PCOS, or, even with me having endometriosis, that's been a struggle. It's my struggle. It's not like as bad as some things that, could be worse or whatever, but these are things to always consider, not necessarily as they're not excuses, but it just means that you're going to have to do things that other people don't have to do. And that's,
Yeah. And you just might have to be a little more realistic with your goals, like, or, something else. Like if you're a single mom and, you work full time, like we might be realistic about your timeline, right? Because like you can't be totally selfish, right? You have someone to take care of, or, whatever it is, right? We're going to have to kind of maybe adjust the timeline or adjust the goal ever so slightly, in order to, make sure that you are, successful.
right. And I think the biggest thing too is that people need to understand, as much as we want, you to follow the plan 100%, it's okay if you don't. And that needs to be said when you do your check-in, because there's nothing, usually I get a couple of things. Sometimes I'll get like, how were you 100% on track? Yes. And then a little bit further down, I'll hear like, but this happened and this happened. So then I wasn't 100% on track. I will always give accolades. You know what I mean? There's no shortage of praise.
Right.
Actually, if anything this year has taught me is people handle things as best as they can, in a given situation. And so, you're not going to receive any type of shame or guilt or anything like that, for non-compliance, because everybody is doing the best that they can,
That's all I ask is like, just do the next right thing, just do the next right thing. And, the next right thing probably doesn't mean eating the entire cake, but it might mean, you stop after 2 slices, right? Kind of thing. So yeah. And being honest with your coach, because like maybe like, say, use the single mom example. Like if you were off plan because, you had to pick up your kid from daycare and, the gym was closing and the kids club wasn't opened. Okay, then we need to, readjust, maybe your training. Maybe we need to do, a 4-day, upper lower split instead of a 5-day push pull leg variation, right? So that communication is key. Cause if I didn't know that, like I would just be like, okay, let's try harder, when that's not really the answer.
Right. And the client could feel like there's just, where I think a lot of people are getting to where they get to the point and they hire a coach is just I don't know what to do anymore. So we are you're problem solvers.
Yeah,
You have to have all the numbers in order to find the answer. So
totally.
yeah, I think that's it is what it is. So I just wanted to say in summary that I feel like a coach is a teacher, not telling clients how to change their behavior, but educating them through information, biofeedback, and results driven experience so the client can learn how to change their behavior. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Because
You're in the driver's seat and we're just, right there alongside you,
yep. And it's the changes in the behavior. People are always looking for results, but it's the changes in the behavior that
that
create
lead to, yeah,
the result.
just a matter of time.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So, is there anything else that you wanted to add, Sarah?
No, I think just, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, when you're looking to find your coach, and then once you find your coach, don't be afraid to ask questions either. Just, but, once you do find that fit, trust the process, because it's cliche, but it's true,
Yeah. It's really funny because I love when clients ask me questions because it makes me feel like they're really invested.
Me too.
And they're thinking about this whole process. So, and it does give me, an opportunity to teach. It's like, oh, well, they didn't know why we were doing that or what was going on. So, yeah, you gotta love it. I mean, as much as you love learning, I love learning. It's
I know. I love educating too. Like it all goes together.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I guess we will wrap that up. Hopefully we covered everything. I feel like this stuff can't be talked about enough though, because, people are always looking for, should I get a coach? How much should I be spending? I know you said that, and I think it's really important to, I don't think you're going to, for sure, you're not going to spend less than $150 a month on a good coach.
Yeah.
And that might just depend on what you get, because not everybody writes training programs, and sometimes they do different package types of deals. So
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's just kind of like your average that you're looking at.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, so many people don't know what we do. So I think it's important to talk about this, or like, like coaching is, it's all obvious to us because we've been in it for a while, but like to someone that's kind of new, it's not all so, obvious.
yeah. One last thing that I wanted to say was I think that like a training program, I think what you need to be aware of are cookie cutter diet programs, because training programs can be translated.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
for the most part, like I have a couple different like kind of templates that I'm using, and then I'm maybe tweaking like 2 or 3 exercises, or like your rep scheme, right? But it's not, the basics are the basics for a reason. Like you're not going to get some cool fancy like split squat whatever, like that, my other client isn't getting.
Well, and sometimes, if you get someone who needs adherence because they need variety in their training, then I will do something a little bit more basic so that they can fill in the gaps. Because somebody might not, they might be newer and not be ready to do some sort of a progressive overload, intense training type of a program. And something could be a little bit more volume based. But yeah, there's a variety of ways to do things. And I would say, again, be very open about, my training program looks the same as this person's, and just say, well, that's because you can follow someone else's training program and it will still work for you because you're using your own, intensity and everything else. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah. But diets have to be customized a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Sarah, I'm going to let you go. What do you got going on for the rest of the day?
I have a couple of check-ins that are a little late. Be on time, guys, for your check-ins. But other than that, I'm wrapping it up for the day. I already trained. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to try to head to the gym now. I had the other podcast earlier today, and my whole day got shifted around a little bit. So yeah, we'll go. The check-ins is, well, for me, I only have like 2 days that I do check-ins. So, it's like being on time with them is super important for me, but I think it just, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
respect thing, right? Like I want to you to check in on time so I can reply on time so you can get going or get your free meal, whatever is happening.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, have a good lift.
all right, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.